Okay, welcome to session 7. We're going to be discussing sky replacement, and this mainly involves selecting areas of the sky using various tools, and then masking them, and then introducing a new sky from another image. So let's get started. We've got a very simple option here. First of all, we'll look over to the left-hand toolbar, and the first one is Object Selection Tool, followed by Selection Brush Tool, followed by the Flood Select Tool. I won't get into the marquees and what have you at this stage, so we're going to concentrate on these three selection tools. So what we're going to do is make a selection, mask that selection and to hide the current sky, and then we're going to introduce a new sky into this image. So we'll try all three. They all have their good sides and not so good, hence you really need all three depending on the circumstances. So let's start with the object selection, which is potentially the most automatic, shall we say. So if I go around this image, you can see it highlighting areas. And in this case, picking the foreground, you'd have to pick it in several lumps and what have you. So the easiest thing is actually pick the sky itself, because it's fairly neutral in tone. So that's what we'll do. We'll just select that, but it's not the actual selection we want. We want the inverse of that. So up the top here we've got three little buttons. One is select all, which we definitely don't want to press at the moment, deselect, and finally invert selection. So we don't actually want the sky selected, we want the foreground selected, so we just invert the selection, and you'll see the dotted ants running around the bottom of the image now. We need to refine this. You can see that it hasn't selected one area in particular, so we'll hit the refine button, and we'll just briefly cover some of these options. I'm not going to cover them all. The ones that we'll actually be using today is the feather, because when we're cutting out the foreground on one image and adding in a background of another, it can look it can literally look like it's been cut out because the edges are so sharp. By feathering, what we're doing is allowing for a couple of pixels of transparency, gradual transparency between the two images, and it just smooths out and makes it less pastry cuttering type of shape to it. So that's what we'll do. We'll add a feather. And the other thing really here is these options here. I'll show you matte to begin with. So this particular area didn't get selected, so what I can do is I can ask Affinity to look at it again, and I do that by I'll make the brush a little bit bigger and basically painting if we come out. Let's have a look elsewhere. Another method would be foreground or background, where you're basically pointing to a point on the image, let's say this point here, and just say this is definitely foreground. You can see it's slightly selected, and if I just run the brush over it, it will redefine that edge. And background, I can do the same here. I can just say this is background, and you'll see it go in a little bit more into the rocky area. So that's how you can use those three main options there. So we basically got our selection, and it's what we want to do with it. Now the simplest, I find, option is down here, which is basically create a new layer with this add a mask. So let's do that. Select that option and apply. And what it does is it duplicates the image for you and applies a mask to it, and you can see the sky has now been removed. So it's relatively easy. So that's using the object select tool with a little bit of refinement in this area. So what do we want to do now? We want to introduce our new image. So two ways of doing it I'm going to show you. First is through File and Place, which is basically take an image and place it into this session. So I'll click on Place, and I've got some images here. I'll pick one of them, I'll open that. It says, whereabouts do you want it? Well, I want it up here somewhere. They're different scales, these images. So you can see from here, I can select this image here. Alternatively, I could have just picked it here, and I get little pulling handles on this image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it bigger and pull it out, but you can see it's going over the rocky outcrop here, and the reason for that is the sky is the top image. So what I need to do is I need to pull this down so it's below the actual image of the rocky outcrop, and now you can see it disappearing behind. Now it's really up to you. You know, any image you'll be picking. This one might actually be nice to keep the water there, and move that back up to the top of the frame. You might prefer it that you get rid of the water completely. If you pick a middle item, left or bottom, top, left or right, it will actually stretch or shrink the photo. If you pick the corners, it will resize. So you would normally try and resize, but particularly with clouds, it's very easy just to stretch them out. They don't look wrong normally, unless you overdo it, of course, like anything. And then really it's just about the placement to your desire. So what I'm going to put it about there, so we've got some nice dark cloud there, and we've got the horizon not being clipped by any of the rocks, and I think that looks quite nice. If we zoom in, you can see the edge is slightly faded, but that's good. There's no sharp edge, and I think that's our first image complete. Okay, let's take this back. Right, we're back to where we started. This time I'm going to use the selection brush tool, and if I select that, you'll see it's really how much it selects how quickly is partly down to the size of the brush. So if I just deselect, make my brush smaller, and if I try and select, now it doesn't jump as much. Okay, and you'd have to come really close. Obviously you don't want to do that, so go up the top here, deselect. Let's make our brush bigger, select, and as I pull down, it's coming in and snapping to the edges. How do I know it's snapping to the edges? Because we've got this nice little checkbox called snap to edges, and for this type of work you definitely want that turned on. You can have soft edges, that helps. Just smooth it out if you need it. In this particular case it's quite a hard edged image anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. Same thing, we don't actually want the sky. we want the foreground. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to select again. This is a little easier to select than the automatic tool. There we go, and I've selected it. You can do it both ways, of course. I could have selected the sky and done the invert. Either would work. So it's actually picked it here, but you'll notice it's a little bit out here. So what I can do is just reduce the size and just come in here and select that as well before I go on to refine. Have we got any others? Yep, just do that. That looks quite good. Zoom back out. I'll hit the refine tool. I've done my corrections without having to use the matte or foreground. I'm quite happy with that, so I'll do exactly the same. I'll output to a new layer with a mask and apply. And again, we've done exactly the same thing. This time I've already preloaded the image I want to use as my sky, because I might have done some adjustments to this separately in another image. So I could do some adjustments, but ultimately what I want to do is just right click on the image, pick on copy, go back to my outcrop here, and here again just hit paste and it will paste it in. So there we go, it's actually pasted it in the right place. I'll pick up the move tool up here, top left, and again I can just repeat what we did earlier. It's, as you can see, it's really the selection tool that's the bulk of the work. Once you've got that, it's pretty much the same. Okay, that's using the selection tool. Rewind again. Okay, was there anything else I wanted to say about selection? Snap to edges, soft edge, yeah, we talked about that. That's enough about that. So we're now going to go to the flood select tool. Now this is a bit different. It uses a tolerance. I think it normally defaults at 10%. So let's just pick that. We'll cover these two checkboxes here because both of those are quite important. So what I'll do is I'll just come onto the image and I'll click on the sky, and it's picked some of it but not all of it, and it's down to this tolerance here. And what you can do, if you read down the bottom here, drag to set tolerance and flood selection, so you can do two in the same instant. So what I can do is I can click in that area, and as I move the mouse downward, if you look up at the tolerance, you'll see it going up, because basically the wider the tolerance, the more the selection. So as I'm coming down, I'm slowly selecting everything, and I've got everything now, but it's got little bits in the front, in the foreground. Let's just select that. Now I could switch to one of the other ones and remove that, but what I want to show you is contiguous. So if I click that, basically what it will do is, in this particular case, I want to select the sky, but I don't want to select any other areas, any separate areas. So let's clear the selection. I'll do exactly the same thing. I'll just pull down, and as I come down, it's selecting more and more, but as it won't pick any new areas, so I'm not getting those selections in those random areas. I'm just going back upwards because it over selected there, and I'm fairly happy with that. That's 32% tolerance. Just let go of the mouse and we've got our selection. As before, it's the actual foreground we want, so we'll invert the selection. And again, we can go into refine and refine the image. Quick note: anti-alias. Again, this is a way of smoothing the edges, and I would recommend for the sky replacement that you actually have that checked. So that's worth doing. So again, we'll hit refine. Happy with that. So it's done a good job. You can see that everything seems to have been selected fine. So that just leaves me with exporting as a new layer and a mask. The other options, selection, that would just take you back and you'd just have your dotted area, because you might want to do other selections in other areas. Creating a mask, it will just create a mask on its own, and then you'd have to move that mask and apply it to various other parts of the image, or you can just create it as a new layer. But I prefer new layer with mask. I think it's the simplest for particularly new users to Affinity. So let's apply. There we go. So we've achieved exactly the same result again. Again, I can just go copy that image, paste it in, and resize. I won't go through that again. You've seen that. So they're the three main options to get you started. Have a play with each one of them. What we're going to do now is just look at a couple of different images to show you that different selections can be more difficult, more challenging. So we had a very distinct blue sky, very easy to select. This image is well, apart from already being processed once, is more challenging because of the amount of colour in the sky. So let's have a look at this. How would I select this one? Well, I think in this particular case, let's try them. So let's do the automatic. Just make sure it's selected, otherwise nothing will happen. And you can see I can select the tree, I can select the grass, the background. I can do multiple selections, so I can select this area, and then I can move up and say I want to select this as well. So just hold the Alt key down and I'll select that as well, and you can see it joining up and adding to the selection. But you're doing quite a lot of clicking there, so let's clear that and let's go to just picking the sky. Let's do that. But it's not very good. It's can't really handle the tree and all the bits in between, so not very appropriate for this particular image. So again, let's just clear that. Let's go for the selection brush this time. So again, I'll open it up a little bit and I'll start selecting it, and you see starting to get into trouble here. So it's ignored this bit here. Let's start again. So that's better, but I'm going to have a hard job trying to select all the bits in between. I can do that, so I can reduce my brush, reduce the brush again, and I can pick little tiny areas, but I'm going to be here a very long time selecting all these different areas for the sky. So let's not use that method. Let's go for the selection, flood selection. Let's try that. So let's start. We got contiguous selected at the moment, and what it's doing, it's avoiding going into the tree branches. So let's stop. Let's say not contiguous, and let's try again. And you can see it now going into the tree itself and selecting all those little areas. So let's try that again. Let's pull down, pull down, pull down. Now, you know, it can get odd because we're trying to select areas, but it's not really giving us exactly what we want in one go, and that's probably a lesson in itself. So if I invert that and if I just quickly show what we've selected, you can see it's not working very well. So if we hit refine, have a little think about it, you'll see that there are issues with this image. So it would be quite painstaking to do the selection, or try and do the selection in one go. So I'm just trying to see if I can do it better again. That's possibly a little bit better. Let's invert that. And let's refine that. That's a bit hard to tell what we've got here, so let's do black and white. That gives you a better idea. Possibly transparent will also be telling. So we got quite a lot of the tree. We got little bits of the foreground, but we got some completely deselected. So let's go back to overlay. So I'm not really happy with that. Let's just cancel that. Okay, let's go out. Now there's a fourth way, which I'll show you on another image. It will be easier to do, but it's what I'm trying to project is not all selections are easy. Nearly every video you see, you'll see that a nice image that can be easily selected, and it's bam bam bam, job done. And you'll see in this case that's not true. It can be very difficult to do the selection. So I'll give you another alternative. It's not using any of these tools. It's a little bit more advanced. I'm going to show you on this image first because it is a simpler image. But what we can do is make a black and white image. And what I mean by that is, let me delete that. Right, so we just got the single image there. What I will do is duplicate it. Okay, go back to the first one. And I basically want to make this black and white, like a mask. So I want the sky to be white or black, and then everything else to be the opposite. So what I'll do is, I've got some options here. Let's make it black and white. Now what we can do is we can play with these sliders to make the foreground more black and the sky more white. So let's try reds. Yeah, let's pull the reds down, and you can see that darkened the roof there. Let's try yellows. Yeah, because yellow is a component of grass and what have you. That's darkened that area quite nicely. Let's try greens again. we've reduced or we increased the contrast. Blues, we want to go in the opposite direction. So we don't want to darken them, we want to lighten them so they disappear. So we can do that, and we can do the same cyan and blue. And we've got almost a pure white sky. Magenta, my guess is it won't do an awful lot. No, it doesn't. So I'm pretty happy with that. Let's end that. And we've got another option, which you won't use often, but it's called threshold. And this is affecting the black and white slide with this slider. So I can either move the slider to the left and more of the darker areas turn white, but in this case we want to go the other way. We want to basically make the foreground as black as we can, and I'm just moving it up and up and up until 95%, 96%. I'll probably get up to, well, we got 98, 90. Oh, and of course if I do 100 it goes completely black. Let's go 98. I can even type in here 99. Let's try that. And what we've got there, it looks very much like a mask. So yeah, I'll accept that. Now what I want to do is just make that a straight image. So what I want to do is merge all of these images together into one pixel image. So I'll merge. So this top one is just a conglomeration of all of the layers below. And then I can just manually edit this. This is just, so what I can do is pick a paintbrush. I can pick white. I can increase my brush size and just say, no, this is all white. That's fine. Is there anything here that I want to make more black? I think it's all pretty much black. But if you look at the detail, it's pretty good. There's some bits here that could probably be white. So let's reduce the size of the brush and just brush out these little specks. Don't quite know what's causing them. Oh, there we go. We'll take that out there. And what we want to do now is make this a mask, because it looks very much like a mask. So first thing I want to do is invert it. So if you come up to the top panel here, you've got layer, which is the one we're looking at. Invert it. So now we've got what could be used as a mask. These two layers here below it, the threshold and the black and white, we no longer need them anymore. So I can select both of them and just hit the delete key, or click on delete, right mouse click, delete. Okay, so we now want to use this as a mask. So what we can do, if we just right click on the image, and literally there's an option here called rasterize to mask. Click on that, and it's basically masked out the entire sky. And if you look at the accuracy of it, if you look at all of these particular veins on this windmill, it's a very accurate way of producing a mask. What I shall do is I'll embed it into this image. There we go. The bottom one's turned off. If I turn that on, the sky comes back, as you'd expect. And now I'll introduce our new sky. So here again, right click on the image, copy, back to, let me find the right one, this one here, and paste it in. So we've got it in the right place. So it always pastes just above where you've selected. So if I paste it whilst clicked on here, it will put it in just above, which is where we actually want it. So there we go. select the new sky and start pulling it down, and maybe move it across so it's a little bit more interesting. I think we'll have the sea as well. It looks like it could be on the sea. Now I'm not particularly happy with this little bit here. I think I didn't notice that first time. So that's another interesting thing, is that you've gone to all this effort and you suddenly then notice there's something wrong with the mask. So let's go back up. Let's click on the actual mask itself. So now that the mask is selected, what we can do is pick the paintbrush, and basically we've got the black will hide the background, and white will reveal it. So if we come down here, you can see as I move my brush around, I can repaint, carry on painting on this mask. Let me make my brush smaller, and I can flip between white and black. Let's just draw that back in. To quickly switch between black and white, rather than keep coming up here and clicking on the buttons, you can just press X and it will flip between the two. So I can come in here and start painting and just tidy up the mask. There we go. It would have been better if I'd done this first, but these things happen, and in real life you will find you'll come back to your image and you'll notice there's a mistake with the mask. So let's just quickly repair it. There we go. I'm not going to bore you too much. Let's just make it a bit bigger. And if we zoom out, that does look better. And I could continue along this area here. There we go. That's a bit better. Oh, and this bit up here. There we go. So I've sort of repaired the mask. Now, what I can also do is if I hold the Alt key down and left click on the mask, it'll actually show you the mask itself. Now that can be useful in that I can now go in and see these little areas I've missed. Yeah, and they're much easier to pick out. Okay, so I can go around, make those little corrections. And same up here, just get a bit bigger and just tidy up the mask. There we go. To get rid of that, just click on any other image and it will disappear again. So again, this has tidied it up. Obviously could do a much better job than I've just done there, but that gives you another means of creating a mask using other tools than the selection brushes. Actually using the image itself, the contrast or the color depth, to make those selections. So that will do for now. I hope that's a good introduction, and I'll see you in another session.